Hello, and welcome to the East Africa Business Podcast. This show is all about showcasing entrepreneurs who are building businesses in this exciting part of the world. From reading high-level articles about the region, it can be difficult to really understand what's going on. And so my hope is that these interviews somewhat bring it to life, as well as stoking your curiosity to go find out more. On that, do take a look in the archive for more episodes that we've done. But for now, let's enjoy the rest of this funky intro music and then get started with the show. There are certain products which, let's face it, are more embarrassing to purchase than others. You don't think twice about buying a pint of milk. However, things such as contraceptives or sanitary items make you a bit more self-conscious, especially if you're an awkward teenage girl. Kasha, an enterprise in Rwanda, started by solving the very discrete problem around girls accessing affordable, quality sanitary items which can cause long-standing societal issues such as school dropout, if not solved. They are now running an e-commerce platform delivering female products throughout East Africa to women on all levels of the social spectrum. Joanna, the CEO, and I discussed the different customer segments they have on Kasha, the mechanisms by which they reach them, and how their B2B offering of data-backed insights is funding those customers typically overlooked as unprofitable. We conducted this interview in Joanna's office in Kigali, and near the end there was a huge downpour of rain, which you can hear in the background. It doesn't distort the interview, and if anything, brings you closer to appreciating the changing microclimates of Rwanda. But just a heads up, in case you're wondering. For now though, let's get started on this great episode with Joanna. So I'm here today with Joanna from Kasha. Joanna, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
So just to get us started, can you tell us a bit about you and a bit about Kasha?
Sure. So my name is Joanna Bichsel, and I'm the CEO and co-founder of Kasha. Kasha is an e-commerce company for women's health and personal care and beauty in Rwanda, and also we're expanding into Kenya. So just a little bit about the company. I mean, the Kasha started because when you think about many of the products that women need for their health, they're actually many of them are uncomfortable to get in person. So this is a very common occurrence, even every month women have an uncomfortable experience in getting the products they need, things like sanitary pads and contraceptives and a variety of other products as well. And so Kasha was started with this understanding that women need these products on a regular basis. On principle, they should be able to get them easier. And there's this huge market gap in this area. And so Kasha sells a variety of women's products focused on women's health, personal care, and beauty, and as a result enables confidential access to some of these products that are actually difficult to get, things like contraceptives. So that's a little bit about the company and just a little bit about me. So my background is in technology, in software development originally, and prior to starting Kasha, I worked at the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation on technology across mostly East and West Africa and South Asia in areas of agriculture and fintech and supply chain and health services delivery. Before that, I spent years at Microsoft, both as an engineer and running businesses and teams, and also within cybersecurity and other areres.
Very cool. It's Microsoft and the Gates Foundation.
That's right.
So have you met Bill Gates?
I have.
Yes. Does he know about Kasha?
I'm pretty sure Bill and Melinda, yes. In fact, it was the Gates Foundation that gave us the pilot funding to bring Kasha into Kenya. They do, we have a very innovative model when it comes to direct-to-consumer access of health products. So we are the only company I know of in the world right now that especially within developing countries, enables anyone to order any single kind of contraceptive over e-commerce. And we're able to deliver that to people in both urban and rural areas. And so we really are innovating in the space, and we have a lot of great partnerships to scale that out.
Amazing. Okay, so let's go into that a bit. So what does it look like in terms of, if I'm a rural Rwandan and I'd like some contraceptive, can you talk me through that process of how I'd interact with Kasha and how it would end up getting to me?
Sure. Well, I guess first to start off with, we do recognize and believe as a company that all women need access to these products, women across all socioeconomic levels. And, and different socioeconomic levels need different pieces of information, maybe want different products, have different price points. And so we have optimized across different segments. So we do have, we've adapted our model for very low income, bottom of the pyramid women in rural areas, as well as students and also urban professional women, at a higher income level in urban areas. And so depending on kind of the segment you fall into, you might have a different experience. In terms of ordering products, usually when you think of e-commerce, you think of, the laptops, the credit cards, the apps, but we've built it so that anyone with a basic mobile phone can order. So no smartphone required, no internet access required. So if you are in a rural area or anywhere in the country really, and you have access to a phone, not even your own phone, you can still browse through products. You can dial our number in Rwanda, it's star 911 hash, like an emergency number. So you can dial that. It's kind of like the experience of buying airtime, but we have categories. You can browse through products, you can order, you can pay with mobile money. And then we also have, for other segments, we have a website, kasha.rw, we have an app, an Android app, and we also have a call center. And we also have several other customers that, growing number of customers that are ordering via WhatsApp. And so we really do adapt e-commerce to this market. So a few things. If you're specifically interested in contraceptives, but you don't know, for example, which is the right one for you, we do offer a confidential consultation with a nurse. So you can call and speak with a nurse. We connect you with someone we know is supportive in this market. Often, nurses send people away. They can call your parents or your husband. They can tell you it's better if you don't, but we know that the person you're talking to sees this as a health topic and that they will be supportive. And so once you have the information to make the right choice, you can order the contraceptive if that's the one you choose. And we align with policies. So where there's a prescription required, we have processes around that, and in some cases like emergency contraceptives, you don't require a prescription. But we do have partnerships with health organizations. So even if you need, you decide to choose an injectable or something like this, we can enable you to get that confidentially done. So it's really, and then, the retail side is done through our platform. And then we also have a distribution side. So if we think about, we have a few different models for distribution. For rural areas, we employ a few different, in urban, we have a direct delivery. If you want it as fast as 1 hour, we can put it on a moto and get it sent to your home or work. And then we also have pickup points. So areas in Kigali where, I have 30 places around Kigali where you can go and pick up your package with our partners. And then we also have agent model. So if you're in a very rural area, we have agents that live within the community. They're usually low-income communities that do community-level distribution. And in every case, the package is confidential. You get this envelope, it's sealed with a sticker. It could be a deodorant or lotion. It could be an emergency contraceptive. So no one knows what's inside. So for us, we really see ourselves as the channel that is direct to consumer and really optimizing around women's health and personal care. So the experience that we strive for is one that's very customer-centered, ensuring that you can speak freely in a confidential discussion to get the products you need, and then the affordability to be able to purchase those products, and then the discrete delivery to be able to get those products to you, even if you're in a rural low-income area.
Got it. Of course, it's actually quite a complex operation in terms of it's not just one channel. There's lots of different ways in which the end product can get to the consumer.
Yeah, e-commerce is quite complex in emerging markets, so there's many pieces.
What was there? Did you foresee that going into it, or was there one which you started with, and then you were like, oh, actually, we need to do this and this and this and this and this, or how did that sort of come about?
Well, so even regarding to our business model, which I can talk about as well, from the outset, we as a team had an understanding that e-commerce is very different here than it is in other markets, and especially in developed markets. So the idea that you will put up a website and people will just come and order and you will just have a B2C business model is just, in my opinion, not extremely viable in this market because it is still developing. And so we definitely, from the beginning, we built our platform so that it's kind of this online, offline combination. So it's accessible over, just with a basic mobile phone. And so just from that platform, we adapted that. And there were some things we discovered that we didn't know, that we hadn't predicted at the beginning. For example, at the beginning, I didn't realize call center would be such a strategic component. We expected to have a call center, but we've realized just how important that is in terms of building trust with the market. And, people need to ask questions. They want to know that the people behind the company, that they need to trust the company. And that does start with people talking and social interaction. And so we also do a lot of online, offline marketing and once people get comfortable in person, it's easier to translate that into digital scalable services as well. An agent model, for example, a lot of Kasha's supply chain and logistics are based on existing best practices within the region. I've worked in supply chain for vaccines and family planning and other health commodities. Many of our advisors have worked on supply chain in Africa regionally as well. And also very hyper local in rural areas. And so we do leverage best practices. But I think, you always have to iterate on that. And every country is different. And so, for example, our expansion into Kenya our operations in Kenya look different than Rwanda. There's different services to plug into. We don't necessarily have to build the components ourselves that we had to build in Rwanda. It's just different contexts. But the same general principles, we're finding those apply, and we just adapt them to the markets.
Okay. So what's an example of a general principle, and then how it's been modified for Rwanda and modified for Kenya?
Sure. I'd say one general principle, is really around, I guess one understanding of ours is that e-commerce is nascent in this market. And so with that comes the requirement that e-commerce is not an online only endeavor at this moment. And so in both markets, we have to build trust in a way that's, we have to meet people where they're at. Kenya has been using mobile money for many years before Rwanda. There are more digital solutions. People there are more comfortable using e-commerce. So there's more of a market there, but still all of the e-commerce companies in Kenya as well have to do some offline and online. So we basically, one of the principles I'd say we stand for is meet the market where it's at in terms of digital. It doesn't make sense to build a technology and have to train the entire market to be able to use it. So that's really, we optimize for people rather than optimizing for the technology. But we absolutely believe in technology's ability to scale without, nationally without brick and mortar and things like that. Another principle we have, and this is, I guess, just more of the customer focus rather than the technology, is we take it upon ourselves to be able to innovate in the space for the customer. Right now, when we look at the space of women's health, it's really looked at from a health organizational perspective or a medical or a government. And when we think about how do we really optimize on customer service within the space, what's the right thing to do for the customer? That's where we really want to be the advocates. We always work, we work closely with government. We always align to policy, and we require to partner with health organizations, but we really want to be the advocate for customers. And so that is the stance we always take, is how do we build a solution that optimizes for customers? Because really this is a place that just has not been innovated on much to date. Another area, and I can talk about our business model to lead into this as well, but really I think that all applies to, meeting customers where they're at in terms of the technology and really advocating for the customer. But then for us also, we do see ourselves as a channel. And we are a channel both in every market we serve. And so when we think of ourselves as the channel, direct to consumer, for information, for products, for various things, that's a principle we stick to. And so when we think about, there may be many other areas we have to invest in for our business, it's always important to remember the core of our business is us being this channel that's direct to consumer, and serving that need. And then I guess to give some understanding to that area a bit more. The company really started with that understanding, as I mentioned, that to have a B2C only model is very difficult in this market. Even for our products, we sell things like sanitary pads. The margins are pretty low.
Out of interest, what are the margins on sanitary pads?
Of our products?
Yeah.
On average, we get around 25% margin on our products. But of course, you have the unit economics you need to manage, right? From the delivery to marketing and all those things. So for us, it's very important that we're around positive unit economics. And we have the advantage that not only do we just serve low income, we serve, also across socioeconomic levels. And so we have a segment which, has purchases hundreds of dollars can be as part of their basket size. So we do have some variability there. But we also, we've built this consumer platform that does direct to consumer retail, distribution, reaches consumers in areas that are traditionally unreached in e-commerce, and really has built a strong brand. And so what we do, another one of our revenue streams is the B2B model. So we obviously drive revenue from consumers with product sales and delivery fees, but we monetize our platform as a technology platform. We can do that. So we can onboard customers such as Unilever. Unilever was our first customer. Global manufacturers, usually within the areas of personal care and health, pharma companies and those types of companies that want to increase their revenue in the market, that want to increase their market penetration, increase their share, as well as to test new brands in the market. And we, just by what we do in our platform, we can easily offer those types of services. So for example, we depending on how closely we work with these manufacturers, we not only just sell the products, we can actually do marketing and brand awareness of the products. We can show consumer insights on the products, showing that people who buy these products also buy these products. There's this general socioeconomic level. They live in this area. They're employed or they're students, that type of information, and also qualitative and quantitative data. And this is important because if you're a global manufacturer and you don't have an understanding of the Rwandan market, for example, you're not sure that your brand or this exact product and brand and sense will actually fit the market. And we've seen examples of that where certain scents are brought in that the majority of the market has no idea what that is. And it's just not a common thing. And so it's important to get that consumer insight.
So do you have enough data? Do you have enough touch point, enough reference points to be able to draw those types of insights?
We do. And the interesting thing is, there's such a deficit in consumer level insight within the continent here that if you even just have a very clear understanding of the customer base, then, that's incredibly informative. And obviously, so we as a company, we started up 18 months ago. So we're a year and a half old. And even when we're very small and we had, a few hundred customers, was when we started working with Unilever. And that information was still very insightful to them. And they did understand that the more we grew, the more, the larger our sample size and the more, accuracy, the higher the accuracy of the data because we have more consumers on the platform. And that's really where our business model is a win-win. So the more we have, we build a platform of consumers that are recurring customers. And because we sell our products that are needed on a regular basis, they come back every month. We have subscription models, things like that. And that makes us a channel. And then as we work with these B2B customers, that revenue helps us to invest in growing out our channel. And so now that we're also entering Kenya, that's another market that makes us more valuable to these B2B customers, which in turn it's this win-win scenario that works really well. And I think when you think about the East African market, and if you're going to build a business that's going to, serve also low-income individuals, you have to be creative with your business models. And I think that's where technology can really change the game in terms of growing strong, profitable businesses that are also highly impactful.
I see you've been for about 18 months. What I'm trying to get at is what percentage of what wallet share have you got? As in terms of your different customer segments, what percentage of their income are they spending on these types of health products, which you can feasibly sort of take? That's a bit of a strange way of putting it, but when it comes to the different segments, how much money are they spending on healthcare products, and therefore what's the sort of rough numbers which you can expect, or which your market size is in that sense?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So When we bring it down, even just to the consumer level to start with, and then we'll go a bit more macro, but, the products we sell, like, the sanitary pads or maybe contraceptives or maybe lotions, these are products people buy every single month. And so we know that every month, these can be recurring purchases. And obviously the products and the purchasing power of the different segments differ. And so while we see, an average basket size of around, $1 a month for these very low income, bottom of the pyramid customers that are living in poverty, we do see more of a $15 to $20 range within a month for the higher income women. And so for us, we do have a mix across. When you look at, we are specifically within that taking on segments of, the health area, the pharmaceutical area, the personal care area, and also the beauty area. And, within Africa, that's an over $20 billion market opportunity when we look at that. And especially when you look at our target customer, who's the woman. The woman is the owner of the household. She makes the majority of the consumer purchases, the decision maker on 80% of consumer purchases for the home. And as well as, the majority, if not all of the decision making for healthcare for the family. So, we have this ability really to do this niche of product set very well and to build trust. And whenever a woman thinks, oh, I need something for my body, for my health, Kasha is the go-to spot. And so we do see that with a low income segment, there's traditionally, while they buy products that they really need, they are also very aspirational. And then when you think of more the higher income segment, that's actually a high area of spend with people's, and it's not unusual for consumers to be spending $100 a month, for example, on their beauty products, their, feminine hygiene products, all those things, personal care products. And so we do actually have a great opportunity in terms of capturing that market and being, actually the largest platform for women's health and personal care and really serving that area well. And then I think it's a natural assumption. If you get that area right and you win the hearts and minds of consumers, there are so many other areas that women would trust to buy, products women would trust to buy from you. So we do have a huge opportunity there. And when we look at the manufacturers that we also work with on a B2B side, like these are the niches they are trying to reach. So that's the opportunity.
And is it that the lower income consumers, like I can imagine that between all your different channels, some will be more profitable than others. Is it even the lowest income channel? Are those still profitable? Like if people are spending $1 and they're getting it delivered to them, does that still kind of work?
Yeah, so we have optimized our logistics and delivery methods to really be able to optimize that, to enable to have the positive unit economics, right? So that we're making money on the orders. And so the way we deliver to a professional woman working in an office is not the same way we deliver to a rural woman in a low income area. So we have, as I mentioned, so we actually do a lot of, especially for the agent model, we have group orders. So we have a certain minimum of orders to hit within a community before we dispatch those orders. And so we do, the group orders obviously when they're combined, end up being even higher actually than a single, higher income order. And then so we're able to optimize that efficiency. And then when you think about it, this is where I think it is very important if you're going to run a business that you have to at least acknowledge, that the majority of the population within this continent, 75% of it is rural and low income. And so there's a huge opportunity there, and it's a generally underserved market. And when we think of also, remember, we have a few different revenue streams. So for us, of course, making sure we're at positive unit economics with these very low income consumers, but they are also strategically important for us. So these are the consumers that, for example, these large FMCG companies want to be able to reach. And so, for example, products like Unilever, their product one of their brands has become the largest selling brand on our platform because we found that it fits very well with this segment of the population. And so that also fuels having more penetration within the lower income, the rural areas actually increases the value of our platform for these B2B customers, which also brings in revenue. So there's various different levers we look at. But in every case, we look at the economics of all the businesses across the pieces of product margins and distribution costs and marketing and all those things.
The thing I was trying to get at was, it's obviously you've got higher profits. Some customers are higher profit than others. And if you take on grant money, or you have help from let's say the foundation, I can imagine they're more interested in serving the EOP customers. And so, but the fact that you're saying that simply by the fact that you're creating a channel with which larger organizations can do, that in itself makes it, kind of helps to buffer up still make an attractive proposition to do.
Right. So if you look at just in terms of our financials for the, first few years, you do see that the B2B revenue is a big driver as we grow our platform. But as we increase the scale on the number of customers, we see, a lot more of the percentage of the revenue coming from the B2C. So our B2B model almost de-risks these early stages before we're at the economy of scale on the consumers. But once we're serving millions of consumers, for example, I'm just throwing that millions out there, we're able to, we can run in a more profitable way with just consumers. But before that, we hit profitability even before we hit 1 million consumers, just through the revenue streams we have. So we're able to create a scalable, profitable business model with these, both the consumers and the B2B, the monetizing the actual platform and serving as a channel.
And for the time being, is it always going to be other people's or other manufacturers' products that are going to be sold on Kasha? Or is there any view of doing Kasha own label?
Yeah, we do get asked that quite a bit if we white label some products. Obviously, if you build a trusted brand, you can increase the margins on that. The way we see it is our strength as a company right now is really within technology and logistics. We do have an opportunity, but that just at our stage of the company adds so much complexity to the business. And really, for us, just the product margins alone are not necessarily the highest revenue driver of our business. I think it's also, yes, I think it's something we'll consider in the future. I think it's also important to acknowledge that for us, we give the customers what they want. And so we do sell products that are made in Rwanda, made in Kenya, and also made internationally. But for us, we offer a variety, and we do not necessarily, so we don't have a specific viewpoint at this point what customers want to have. And I think that's a bit different, where some platforms are really just focused on one or the other. Customers are interested in products in Europe, made in Europe and made in North America and other areas. And so we should, as a channel, as a platform, as a retailer, we should give them what they want. And so we believe right now in variety rather than being specific about which products we sell.
Cool. Okay. So we'll just do a few more questions. That's right. Since you've started, what's been the big surprise or biggest sort of insight that you've got where you're like, gosh, I was not expecting that to happen?
Related to running a business as a whole, or just...
Let's say specifically within Kasha. So has there been, for example, a product which is sold really well, or has there been a marketing technique which has really resonated, or something where you were like, okay, I think this is going to be the way it's going to play out, but actually something completely different happens?
Yeah, I think we've had so many surprises and learnings. I think one of the very interesting learnings was that we did expect to build out our consumer platform, spend those early years building out the consumer platform before we monetized it. And I think what was surprising, which is in a very positive way, is that we were able actually to get our first B2B customer with just a few hundred customers. And so just the interest in this type of model and this channel, that is not something that we expected. So that was great. And we actually have a fantastic pipeline of customers that want to come on board. So this is great. And why it's surprising is that there aren't many models that do this. And so we do see that, and this was when we've talked about the early stages of fundraising. I think it goes back to, we believe based on our experience, based on many indicators, that this is an opportunity. And in this market, when you're trying to build a business, you don't always have the data to support. It's not like, well, these 20 other companies are doing this, so we think we can do it. So part of that, So that's a very interesting thing, is kind of leading with that gut of the understanding of the market, of what would be valuable, and sticking to that. I'd say the other thing leading into that is what I didn't realize up front is fundraising is very hard in this market. And so the capital, the access to capital is very different compared to developed markets. For us, for example, it was quite easy actually to grow the business. The business grew well, but to get the fundraising going was harder. And we were lucky. We started with angel investors that believed in our idea. They knew us as people, and they knew that we were, tenacious, and we were going to figure this out. And that enabled us to show some progress, because in this market, no one really cares about your idea. They want to see the proof, right? And so we were able to see that, show data and progress, which enabled us to eventually bring on investors, which enabled us, actually, we were oversubscribed in our seed round. But that puts more companies at risk than anything else, because you have to survive that first year. Just even surviving that first year is difficult, right? But then once you have data under your belt, it's a much easier, than the proof is in the data. But so I think that was another surprise that I didn't expect in starting this business. I think another one as well, just on the consumer side, people think, just because customers are low income or because, the market, people assume certain things about consumers. Consumers here are extremely aspirational. And you actually find that across all segments, their purchasing power is higher than you would actually expect. And there are certain things that, especially women, that they save up money to buy, and that, so they end up buying products you would not expect. And so just the focus of aspirational on a customer is very important. And so when we think about bringing brands or products into the market, the perception of the brand is critical, even for low income individuals. And if something is focused on a product for the poor, or if it's focused on in a certain way that's not aspirational, it usually does not do well. It usually ends up as an NGO level product, and that's not a business. That's not a sustainable business. And so I think that's one of the things that's become very clear, is just the criticality of the brand and the positioning within the market.
What does Kasha mean?
Kasha is actually my daughter's name. And so I have two children. I have an 8-year-old son named Noah and a 2-year-old daughter named Kasha. And the company, the idea for the company I really started happening after she was born. And her name is of a different spelling, but it really does hit home that, every mother wants their daughters to have the basic things they need in their life. And the fact that, still 30% of girls in this region drop out of school because they don't have menstrual care. That's just ridiculous. And
this might be me being an ignorant male, but what's the connection between dropping out of school because they don't have?
So if a girl, let's say she's in a rural area, maybe she comes from, a more poorer family, and she's also embarrassed around talking. For various reasons, she often doesn't have access to sanitary pads. Maybe they're unaffordable. Maybe they don't talk about it. Maybe she's in a boarding school, and the school only offers one sanitary pad per period. So what ends up happening is the girl actually does not have the product she needs to sit in the classroom. And so what happens is she's too embarrassed to sit in the classroom. She tries a variety of other things, maybe it's just some sort of paper or cloth, usually cloths that she can find. There's leakage, there's smell, there's embarrassment, and girls don't go to school during their periods. And that can last anywhere from 3 to 5 days. And so, she's missing like 20% of school a month. She falls behind, ends up dropping out. This is a common occurrence, and that's just should not be happening for something as basic as menstrual care, which is a bodily function for women. So these are the types of things that we just cannot stand for. And at the same time, there's a market where people want access to affordable quality products. And so we need as businesses need to build business models that serve this gap in the market so that things like this do not happen in the world. So that's one example. Things like family planning access is also highly impacts women within this space. And there's so many women that just don't even have a choice of, whether it is their choice to be sexually active, but what they have to protect themselves because of the stigma, they feel blocked from that. And the fact that when you look around the world globally, when you look at everyone who's infected with HIV, the largest demographic is young women in Africa. And there's a huge disparity there. And it's a reason why Kasha, You can get an HIV test, a self-test you can do in the privacy of wherever you want off of Kasha. No one needs to know, and you can find out, am I HIV positive? You can get the contraceptives you need. So anyways, for many of these reasons, and the fact that these are not things women should have to deal with in the future, that girls need to go through, that impact really the rest of the world.
And people listening at home, how can they learn more about Kasha or indeed start buying stuff through it?
Okay. So Kasha, you can learn more about the company on kasha.co, kasha.co. And then our e-commerce website in Rwanda is kasha.rw. And through that, we also, we love diversity of thought, diversity of experience and professional experience. So we're always looking for great people that are looking to put their skills to work within the space as well. So you can reach out on the contact info there. And yeah, I think that's a good place.
Yes, that's cool. And I'll link to a few other things in the show notes as well.
Great.
Awesome. Well, Joanna, thanks so much.
Thank you so much.
Before we head, just a quick moment to say thank you for listening. You can see show notes for this episode by heading to www.samfloy.com/podcast. That's samfloy.com/podcast. If you'd like to learn more about the podcast and stay updated on future episodes, as well as a few other things like behind-the-scenes pictures, then please check out our Facebook page. Search for the East Africa Business Podcast, and you can like it from there. Finally, if you felt this was a good episode, then please do leave a rating for the show on iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts. It helps others like you find the show, and I, for one, would really appreciate it. In any case, have a great week and speak to you soon.